day. My name is Stefan Kirachescu, and I'm so happy because today on our webinar we have Marty Greif as a guest speaker. I'll tell you a couple of words about Marty, but first of all, the name of this webinar is Planning for E-commerce Growth for 2026 and why conversion strategy matters more than traffic this year. And actually, now is the best time to discuss this. Marty, our guest speaker today, is actually a keynote speaker with a lot of conferences all over the world. I met Marty a couple of years ago at a conference in Lithuania, where he was also a keynote speaker. He always talks about CRO. He's got more than 25 years. I don't want to say more than that because it's with experience, it's really good to have as many years as possible. I think 25 years of experience in marketing and in conversion, rate optimization, and you're a published author as well. You have a wonderful book on conversion and marketing psychology. And it's really great to have you here, Marty. I'm excited. I'm honestly and truthfully excited to have you on the webinar.
Well, thank you, Stefan. So, for everyone, I will tell you, you meet a few people out there in the world, and Stefan and I hit it off right away. And we have over the last couple of years helped each other. I've helped him looking at his website. He's helped us with our email marketing, and honestly, we'd be lost without him and his team. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. And yeah, it's true. We did hit it off like right from T0. Um, cool. Okay. So people are joining us today, and they're observing us, and that we're going to be talking about conversion rate. And there's a lot of hype right now nowadays with AI, agentic AI, buying through AIs, Google's UCP. Our website's even going to be relevant this year, next year, in 5 years from today. And I was actually on a winter school for e-commerce just last week here in Romania at JPEG. For people from Romania that are joining this webinar, Marty actually keynoted JPEG like 2 years ago as well on the stage at Teatrul Național. And Marty, with the people from JPEG, I was invited on a panel where we discussed like the hottest trends and what's happening right now. And the idea is the world is moving in a direction of AI assistance. Over the years, the death of SEO, the death of this, the death of that, things are happening. And it's most of the times it was spooks. But this time, the AI component is not affecting just e-commerce. It's not just something from Amazon or from Google or from Shopify or whatnot. AI is something that is impacting humanity. And e-commerce is only one of those components that make up humanity, a very, very small one, might I add, but very relevant. So it is going to impact us. And we have to not make decisions without having a lot of information with us and a lot of correct information with us when we make those decisions. The direction we were talking at JPEG was, AI assistants are going to be able to take orders from their, masters, and people are just going to say buy this and buy that, and they're not going to go to our websites anymore. The reality is that only a part of the shopping experience is something that you can delegate. Buying detergent is something that you can delegate. But a lot of the shopping that is being done for services especially, but also for products, is shopping that is more personal. And you always need a bit more information. You need a personal touch. You need a great experience. So with that being said, Google UCP, OpenAI ads, agentic assistants, the more traffic we actually get on our website, the better it is going to be, but the more expensive it is going to be because the customer acquisition costs are increasing, as we all know, and it hurts. So what we do with that traffic is super important. And what is the very first thing we can actually do with that traffic of ours? Well, the very first thing that we can do with the traffic is to give it a better experience through conversion rate optimization. So that is the whole reason why we've put together this webinar. We want to be sure that people don't just ignore something that is vital, not for today. It is vital for today, but it's also vital for next year, for 2030, for our existence as e-commerce merchants moving forward. And I forgot to hit the go sign here on the slides. It's only now moving. Um, but basically, I covered all of these. And one thing that I did want to mention was CRO in 2020 was for extra profit. But in 2026, it's for business continuity. If an AI assistant sends a user to our website, you have like one shot to prove that you are a great brand, a great experience, and that the customer can come back to you in the future. And luckily, you build your own agentic structure. You build your own great customer experience with email automation, with push notifications, SMS, information about the product, customer support. And you are able to get that client on your website directly in the future and not pay maybe 4% to OpenAI, 10% to this, and decrease your margins. CRO is no longer a tactic. CRO is a strategic capability. And we jumped straight into it. Without further ado, I would like to, Marty, I would like you to take over and just tell us what do you feel about CRO in general?
Okay. Well, before we go into the "Are you selfish?" Happy to do that. I will tell you, Savannah, I probably will need you to move the slides. All right. So, sorry. So you will be my person to click. Okay.
Got it.
Um, so if we think about, well, we've all seen the movies, where the AI takes over the world, humans become slaves or dead, all right, in the scheme of things. And I don't know that we're going to get there, but I can tell you, if you think about when you interact with a person and they're trying to sell you something, or a website's trying to sell you something, you might have had a good day, you might have had a bad day, and you're frustrated, and again, I'm going to say a little bit, we are a little selfish, we're self-centered, we're thinking about ourselves. Well, here's the thing with AI now, especially, and as bizarre as it sounds, can have avatars that you think you're talking to a person potentially. It can tell us you're thinking based on your tone of voice and your facial expressions. So if you think about working with somebody, maybe a salesperson to buy, I'll go off the web for a minute, a car. Salespeople have good days and bad days, right? And you may or may not buy the car. Well, an AI agent's never going to have a bad day. And an AI agent will learn. An AI agent will actually be able to look at your facial features, and they'll know you're nodding or you're doing this or whatever you're doing with your face. You're smiling, you're not smiling, your tone of voice changes, and it will know exactly the right thing to say to get you to take action. And as creepy as that sounds, all right, without a little bit of legislation, okay, that's the future we're kind of headed toward, where we will almost be powerless not to be sold to. And so, with that in mind, I will tell you, AI, because I've been doing conversion rate optimization for years, AI and personalization has been around for a long time. I'll go back 30 years ago. I worked for a company that used neural networks to be able to read your handwriting. All right, neural networks have been around, and my mentor at the time, Dr. Michael Cooperstein, he's long passed, but he was a professor at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and one of the smartest men I ever met. And he created these neural networks that could do face recognition, handprint recognition, speech recognition. This has been around a long time. It's only really taking off now for us. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about being selfish. All right. I am selfish. When I go to a website, I'm there for a reason. When you go to a website, you're there for a reason. You're there to buy something. And what do most companies do? Most companies want to tell you how wonderful they are. You don't care. All you want to do is you want to solve the problem you've got, buy the thing you want, and so on. So if we answer the question or we assume that we're all a little self-centered, all right, it's not the end of the world. That's okay. So as we move on, and sorry, Stefan, I'm going to have you be my click guy. All right. In the scheme of things, if we think about selfishness just a step further, I'll give you an example. And Stefan and I have seen this. You go to a conference, you meet somebody, and in less than 30 seconds, you've already forgotten their name, right? Now,
Yep.
in fairness, yeah, right, Stefan, you've done that. You've forgotten something. We all do, right?
So awkward when it
Yeah,
happens. We're like, I just heard that name, and oh my God.
yeah. Now, in fairness, there are some people that are really good, all right, at remembering names. There are some people like that. And then there's people like Stefan, who is so rememberable, it doesn't matter. No one will forget Stefan's name. Okay. So some of us are just memorable. So with that in mind, you can't assume that. All right. You whatever you do, even in person, you want to be memorable. You want the experience when somebody meets you. So when I meet somebody and they're introduced, I say, "Hi, I'm Marty Greif." Greif, by the way, rhymes with life. And people go, oh, and that's just so out there that people will remember Greif. That's that life guy, Greif. Well, although I will tell you, I was introduced recently where I did that, where I told about, rhymes with life. And then the guy 5 seconds later introduced me as Marty Greif. And the man next to me says, Grief rhymes with leaf. Well, that wasn't helpful. Anyway,
Oh,
we're all a little selfish. Let's move on, and we'll talk about what we do with that. So, given that we are driven to fulfill our own interests, and we talk about ourselves, you've certainly met people who, when they're talking to you, it's like me. It's all about me. I don't care about you. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Those people out there exist, and those websites like that exist. So we're bad listeners. We forget names and faces, and we tend to gravitate towards things that give us instant gratification. All right. So how does this apply? So as we move on, digital marketers, everybody on this call, sorry, I love you all, but you're selfish. You don't know it or you haven't accepted it, but it is a fact of life. We are animals, we are selfish. But that's okay. Here's the good news as we move forward. All right. Apart from your selfish goals, all right, we have a bad habit of letting business owners make decisions. How many times have if you're working on a website and the business owner says, but I like the color blue. Okay, but can we make this about the visitor, right? Or we find a certain marketing tactic, okay, that works, and we use it over and over and over again because it worked. Well, things don't work forever, all right? So what
for
happens?
everyone.
We get used to stuff, or somebody who's not thinking about the visitor, all right, is coming up with solutions for us, which may not be the right answer. All right, so let's go a step further here. At the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about the visitor, right? I'm going to say that again. It's not about you, okay? It's about the visitor. Solve the visitor's problem, and it's a win for everybody. The visitor gets what they want, all right? They solve their problem. You get money, okay? Everybody leaves happy, all right? Assuming you've got a good product, and so on. But let's assume that for now. All right, so moving on. At the end of the day, this is the most important slide in the deck. Seriously, the most important slide. When you align the user intent with their website experience and your company goals, in the middle is where the money is. It's that simple. Now, you could drive lots of traffic to a website. Free iPad with every visit to our website. Probably not going to be around long, but you can get a lot of traffic to it, right? And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when they get there and you're selling, makeup, I'm sorry, a free iPad, there's makeup, what makes sense? Or they land on the page and you've got those entry pops, and I'll exaggerate here. Here's what an entry pop does. Hello! Don't do that, okay? It's rude, okay? And so it's not a good experience. I don't, when I land on a page, I don't know if I want to do business with you or not, and so on. So they have to have a good experience. And of course, it has to match your goals. You're not there for the fun of it. You want them to buy something. It really is in the middle where the money is. It's this alignment. So moving on, really the issue is alignment. Now let's talk about an About Us page. I think we can all agree that the most selfish page or self-centered page on a website is the About Us page. And years ago, we worked with a company in Australia, and this was the About Us page, and it's typical About Us page. It's all about them and what they do, and it's very nice, okay? But that's how people think about their entire website. But imagine this instead. When we look at the next slide, you'll see that we have changed it. We have bolded things, and we made this a lot more about the visitor. And so what happened here is by focusing on the visitor, the conversion rate for new visitors off of this increased by 31%. All right. And the exit rate decreased. And I will tell you, because they measured everything, and this is a, what was it, a 9-figure e-commerce brand that this generated, 7 figures in revenue just by fixing the About Us page. How would you all like to
Wow.
just fix your About Us page and make more money, right? I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, we did other stuff too. But so if we go one more step further, in fairness, because that was an eye test on the last screen, right? You'll notice the words, welcome to Blue Bungalow, but it says the home of flattering, which is bolded. Safe place is bolded. Your friend in fashion is bolded. Now imagine you are a woman in Australia and you land here. How are you going to feel about this company? You're going to feel really good because I'm feeling good about them caring about me. They love me. It's about me. It's not about Blue Bungalow. I am going to buy from Blue Bungalow. Well, I'm not. I don't look good in the dress, but that's a different problem. All right. So moving on. Poor Stefan, you didn't know what you were getting into today when you invited me, did you?
I I had an idea.
Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about how to grow your business by lowering your marketing costs, as crazy as it sounds, how to focus on your process by asking 3 questions, and what can easily be improved on your website right after this. So let's dive right into the good stuff. There are 3 critical questions, and the 3 critical questions are, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this website? And what am I supposed to do here? Now, let me exaggerate those a little bit. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this website? What am I supposed to do here, right? It's selfish. That's why they're there, right? They don't care about you. Now, am I in the right place? You want to match that visitor intent with expectations. Don't make your visitors think. So if and I'll look stupid doing this, all right? But if this is the gas tank of patience in my brain, and over here is full, you don't know before I came to your website, did I have a wonderful day and I'm happy? Or did the dog do something bad on my rug? Did I fight with my spouse so my patience is here? Did I don't know, stub my toe? You have no idea what mood I'm in before I show up. And every time you make me think, you can eat up just a little bit more of that patience until I bounce. So let's take a look. All right. This was another example in Australia. We're based in the United States, but we have clients literally around the world, throughout Europe, throughout Asia Pacific. But this was a good one in that the question was in Google search, a solitaire diamond ring. Okay, solitaire diamond rings were promised, and then you look at this is the mobile version of what was delivered. But here's the thing: if you're like me, okay, your typical, you know, unaware jewelry person. So if your partner wanted a solitaire diamond ring, I wouldn't know what a solitaire diamond ring was unless it bit me in the butt. Okay. I have no clue what a solitaire diamond ring is. So I look at this and I go, I guess these are solitaire diamond rings. I don't know. But if we look at what we did for a client, which is the next slide, it's the same exact request. Solitaire diamond rings are asked for, solitaire diamond rings were promised, and solitaire diamond rings are delivered. I don't care how clueless you are about solitaire diamond rings. You can pretty much rest assured that on that page, all you're seeing are solitaire diamond rings. So if my partner that I was going to propose to told me they wanted a solitaire diamond ring, and I got there, I would be like, thank God I found this. This is what I'm looking for. All of that fear, uncertainty, and doubt is gone. So I can buy, right? So whatever they ask for and whatever the promise is, you want to make sure it delivers, and that answers the question, am I in the right place? Pretty simple. All right.
True.
Now, how do I feel about this site? If I don't feel good about it, if it's not a modern site, if it looks like it's from the early days of the web, that's not good. If there's no trust symbols or social proof, that's not good. So, what does something like that look like? All right. So, it turns out, and I didn't know this, by the way, that you could buy barbecue grills and they would be thousands of dollars, and you could buy barbecue grills online for thousands of dollars. Excuse me. And if I look at this, even though Ace is a brand, there's nothing on here that makes me feel good about Ace. Okay. However, we worked with one of their competitors. And so if we look at the next site, it's the same exact grill, okay, and it's the same price, but they have a number of trust symbols on here. They've got the reviews up right underneath there. They've got their phone number, which is the biggest trust symbol on the face of the planet, up in the top in the header. Real companies have a phone number, by the way, up in the header, or the click to call icon on mobile. And so there's all of these trust symbols on here. So which company do you think you're more likely to put your credit card in their site for $3,000? Okay. I don't know about you, but I consider $3,000 a significant amount of money. And if I'm going to put my credit card in, I want to know that I can feel comfortable that this is a good company. So again, another 9-figure year business. Stefan, I can tell you're dying to make a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually read so many case studies. This is something that COVID really messed up, which was consumer confidence in brands they don't specifically know, or websites they don't specifically know, their first time buying. During COVID, everybody opened up a Shopify store, drop shipping stuff they didn't have. And a lot of people ended up with, calling for order updates, not getting any refunds, not finding any support, not getting any orders all over the world. So consumer confidence in for new purchase on new businesses, new websites is down because of that specific aspect. And one of the ways that we also tell our clients to, build up that confidence is to show the phone number as high as possible on the website, ideally in the website's header. And also, one other thing for the people listening to us right now is if you own a retail business, if you have stores, brag about it every possible way you can on your website. Pick up and buy online, pick up in store, our stores, our store locator, anything you have, put it up there, because if you have stores, you have a physical location, you have employees, you have inventory, you have return processes, you're going to be shipping products, and you care about testimonials and everything else. This is a major confidence booster as well. Just wanted to bring this up because it's helpful, and I hope it helps the people on the call as well for stores.
Oh, oh, absolutely. I will tell you, when we worked with these folks, not only did we work on their website, but we then made sure that the people answering the phone, to your point, okay, actually said the same things that were on the website. And after a week's training of 65, I think it was 65 customer support people, their revenue increased by 15% for all of their phone and chat orders, because they learned how to match what was the trust on the website. And so it
Nice.
works. Yeah. All right. So that's how do I feel about this site, which leads us to the third question. What am I supposed to do here? don't make people feel lost on your site. How many times have you all gone to a site? Well, I know you go to a site and you go, what am I supposed to do here? How do I buy this? Where do I subscribe? What, right? How many times does that happen, right? And then
Too many times.
yeah, it drives you nuts, right? So let's take a look at an example of that. So when we talked to these people, and again, they were another uh, group we worked with in Australia. They've since sold their business because their website, what we did, just blew up for them. But you'll notice here, if we look at this, they sell Le Creuset, or I'm not pronouncing that right, and they sell knives, I guess, and I don't know what they sell. So I had to wander around their website like I was lost in the desert for 40 years. And that just really didn't help at all. So we turn that into this, and it's visual navigation. And you'll notice, and we're going to spend a little time on this. You'll notice a number of things. There's visual navigation for bakeware, cookware, glassware, and knives. Now there's four things across, and I will tell you there's a couple of rows. You don't see them there. But one of the things we've tested and know for a fact is that people can process between 3 to 5 things. So they look at bakeware and say, no, I don't want that. Cookware, no, I don't want that. Glassware, yes, that's what I want. They can process between 3 to 5 things. And when you've got multiple rows, they're saying, oh, well, row one wasn't interesting. Let me look at row two. They've already ignored row one and they're on to row two. So this works really well. The next thing I'm going to tell you, and this is going to sound absolutely insane, but we've tested this too. You'll notice in like bakeware, there's round bakeware and there's a rectangle bakeware and so on. So we're using category level images. As crazy as this sounds, we learned that if we just showed the round bakeware, there are people who will go to the website and go, "Oh, they only have round bakeware." You're laughing. I'm dead serious, right? It's insane. Okay, so you have to show category level images, so they go, oh, they've got a large selection. All right, and then underneath the bakeware, we have got sub-level navigation if they know the type of bakeware they want. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. This is one example, all right, of how to do this. But you could also say shop over 1,000 bakeware products or 500 bakeware products or whatever it is. There's different ways to let them know that you've got a lot going on. Now, I will tell you, there's a number of other things that made this a high converted site. We changed the placement of the phone number. We added a trust bar up in the top. I know it's kind of hard, but it says free shipping, Australia family business, trusted by, I forget how many hundreds of thousands of clients, right? And so how do I feel about this site? Remember, am I in the right place? Well, I know what they do, right? How do I feel about it? Well, it's got all the trust. And what am I supposed to do here? Guess what? If you don't know what you're supposed to do here, you probably weren't shopping for anything they sell, which really wonders, like, why are you there in the first place, right? So this answers the question, what am I supposed to do here? Fair enough? All right.
Absolutely.
So moving on, in summary, it's a wasted slide. Did you like that slide? We spent a long time on that summary slide. All right. So I need to rethink these slides every once in a while. Am I in the right place? What you're doing is you're matching the visitor intent and expectations. Don't make your visitors think. Remember, you don't know what kind of mood they're in before they get there. Did they have a good day? Did they have a bad day? You have no idea. How do I feel about the site? The site has to look good. A well-executed design proves credibility, but make sure you've got social proof, security seals, transparency, all those things that say, yes, we're a real company. Yes, we're here for you. We're not, hiding in a cave in the mountains somewhere to steal your money. Okay. We're a real company, and then what am I supposed to do here? We are visual creatures. Visual emphasis directs the visitor's attention. You want to make sure that your navigation and your call to action, everything's organized and simple. Simple, simple, simple. All right. And if you think about the traffic, and I'm just going to make this comment because this is the point here. A lot of your traffic has gone down these days, right? Between Perplexity, ChatGPT, and all the rest, you're losing traffic to other places. So when they're coming here, you need your site to just go, we love you. Here, you want this, okay? That's the point. You're laughing at me, Stefan, but this is how
I'm
I talk.
laughing because this is so important nowadays. The better the experience that our visitors have on the website right now, the better we're going to do, because a lot of companies, they're not going to hear you talk right now. A lot of people, they're not going to recognize that visitors are selfish, and that's not a problem. That's just normal. Everybody is when they are browsing for buying stuff. They're thinking about themselves, buying for themselves. But there's going to be a lot of companies that don't recognize everything that you're saying right now, which is so true. And it applies to e-commerce in general, not just CRO. It applies to what we do best, which is marketing automation, email marketing. It's the same concept. And there's going to be so much opportunity for companies that do recognize this, companies that do optimize their websites so that they help visitors understand they are in the right place, they feel great about the site, they understand what they need to do on the website. Those companies are actually going to have a lot of opportunity in the coming months and years from now on. So this is spot on. I'm Yep,
Perfect.
great.
Perfect. Well, let's put some of it into action. So if we move on, all right, we're going to apply the three questions to, because I see these same things over and over again. So here's some simple things you can do. Let's apply the three questions. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is you want to remove
Oh wow.
rotating.
Yeah.
All right, so I still see these. All right, so but it's more than just rotating banners. Movement, okay, lowers conversion rate, especially when they land on a homepage, 8 to 12%. We've tested this over and over again. So why is that true? It's true because we are literally animals. Movement is a danger signal. It's like, oh my God, a bear is coming to eat me or something. You know, it's like we get scared, and so every time a banner rotates or something moves, and I'll exaggerate, we go, what's that? What's that? Right? It stops our thought process from whatever else is on the page. We also want to display visual navigation on the homepage. Think about it. When you go hiking, if you go hiking and there's signs that says the dam is this way, the campsite's that way, or if you go into a supermarket, we'll use a supermarket, it's a shopping example. A supermarket, it says produce this way, dairy that way, meat this way, whatever. People need visual signs to go where they need to go, and you want to place trust symbols in the header. So because when I land there, I've only got seconds to know whether this is someone I can trust or not. And with the fact of everything from SEO to geo or well, really considered geo or AO, we call
AEO,
it.
GGO,
Yeah, I
LMO,
know, I
everybody
know.
calls it.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I know, it's just the same. But whatever we're calling it today, all right, you don't know what page you're going to land on your website. So if you have trust symbols in the header, no matter what page they land on, they're going to feel good about you. So let's take a look, at
I,
this first one.
I wanted to ask you just one
Sure.
quick question about this because it's
Yeah.
always a recurring theme for us regarding the visual part,
Yeah.
the dynamic elements of a website. We get
Mm-hmm.
a lot of requests from our clients for example, in emails to include GIFs, and
Mm-hmm.
we tell them that with the increase of the size of the email, deliverability is going to be bad, and typically they allow us to like do things our way, but if they keep coming back
Mm-hmm.
and they ask us about these things, and eventually we start to do a b split test. We show them that it looks prettier theoretically, but we're getting fewer open rates, fewer click-through rates, less money. Which one do you want? I want the one that makes me more money.
Mm-hmm.
How much pushback, or do you get any pushback from your clients when you tell them, let's remove videos, let's remove sliders and everything else?
We get pushback all the time. All right. And so I will tell you, I'll give you two examples. One company was doing well over $100 million a year in revenue, and they went to our website. They signed up for our free review. We do a 30-minute review. I looked at their website and I said, you've got a rotating banner. Change your rotating banner. Do this, this, and this. They did it. They came back 2 weeks later and said, based on just changing the banner, like you said, it gave us an annualized additional $1 million a year. Right now, they were over $100 million in revenue online, but just that simple change increased their revenue by over $1 million a year. Right, so that of course they signed up with us. Now, I'll go the other extreme. We had one company where we did this whole design, we did all of this stuff for them, all right? And our version increased their revenue by $17 million a year. And the CEO said, yeah, but I don't like the way it looks.
Oh my God.
And they actually reverted back to the old way because the CEO liked it better. It happens.
It does. It definitely does happen. I can relate to that so much. When numbers don't matter, what matters is
Yeah,
how
I know.
we feel, how the store owner feels about, their idea of the brand. It's more important than the success or the existence of the brand in some cases. But yeah, we are emotional creatures and we
Yes.
just go by them. Okay, so it's not just us. You get this pushback as well. Happy to
Yeah.
hear about it. Sorry, but happy to hear about it.
Yeah, I understand. No worries. All right, well, let's take a look at rotating banners. So why? Movement's distracting for visitors, okay? And rotating banners tend to push the content down. All the stuff that they're there for. You got this big banner doing God knows what it's doing, and they're there to shop, all right? And they can't get to the good stuff. So that's crazy. So anyway, let's take a look. This is an example where, well, first off, this is the before. You don't know what they do, how they do it, but you'll notice that there's things that move. You can't see the movement, but there would be things that are moving here, and everything is distracting. All right, and so that doesn't work. Well, by turning that into something a little bit more organized, like on this next slide, all right, where it didn't move and all the call to actions, it's got all the trust, it's got all the things we talked about, it's got the boxes for navigation that are peeking above the fold. Everything is there. It matches the visitor expectations. It doesn't make them think. It's got visual emphasis. It's got calls to action. Everything you would want it to do did this, and this helped them tremendously. All right, they're privately held, so we're not going to go into detail, but they're very happy campers. We'll say that. All right. If we look at the next, after rotating banner, visual navigation, make it easy for people. Don't hide your products. Make it easy for them to do fun stuff. It just drives me nuts. So if we look at
Yeah,
this next one, yeah,
you have
when
the
these
shop button.
yeah. Well, this one here, yeah, I will tell you this. When these people came to us, I didn't even realize this was an e-commerce site. I thought it was a blog. Okay. And I went, no, literally, I didn't know this was an e-commerce site. And I went, what is this? Okay. So I had to read and look and do and figure and so on. So we turned that into this next. So it's really clear. It's got all the trust on it. It's got the visual categories. You know what you're supposed to do here. And I will tell you, and this is not even our best example, we increased their conversion rate and revenue by 277%. Okay. Our record for increasing conversion rate, and this is going to sound weird. Okay. In 6 months, we had a company where we did the same kind of thing. Now, in fairness, their site looked like who did it and ran beforehand, right? And they just like this one did, and they were under $1 million, and we increased their revenue 1,000% in 6 months. Okay, now that's unusual. Let's be clear, 1,000%. All right, in 6 months, and we made them a multi-million-dollar business. Now you want to hear the fun? Stefan, imagine this: 6 months later, after we made them a multi-million-dollar business and increased their revenue by 1,000%, they fired us. Right? Would you like to know why? Can you imagine why?
Hmm. I have a couple. No, you tell me. You tell
Okay,
me.
because they thought we were going to increase it another 1,000%, but we'd already done all the heavy lifting. And when we got them, a 20% lift here and a 15% lift there and a 30% here, and it was adding up, right? But it wasn't another 1,000%. I'm like, guys, that doesn't happen. So they were unhappy with us because we didn't get them a second 1,000%.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's with companies like this, there's the low-hanging fruit part,
yeah,
which is going to be stuff that, you do in the very beginning,
yeah,
but afterwards it's polishing a diamond. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe I didn't explain that well to them after the first 6 months, so maybe it's on me. All right, so moving forward, but yeah, it's fine. So place trust symbols in the header. Now this next one that I'm going to show you, well, before we go to it, I'm going to tell you that Sitetuners has been around since 2002. I joined 13 years ago. I bought the company in 2019. All right. So we've been doing this for a long time. And I've changed the kind of companies that we work with. So we're going to show an example that's an oldie but goodie because it's bizarre, but it's not the kind of thing we would ever take on anymore. So because I think what they were doing was a little, I will say, what's the right word? I don't say, yeah, well, it's just not something that I would feel comfortable taking on as a client. Okay. But the illustration of it, and it's so good, and it's an oldie but goodie. So this is pre me owning the company. All right. But we want to make visitors feel safe. So let's look at this. Everyone's wondering, what in God's name is this Sitetuners show? And if you were worried I was going to show you something really horrible, no, I'm not that crazy. But this is weight loss pills. I mean, come on, weight loss pills. Okay. I mean, anyway, if you look at this, they've got this. There's nothing on here that makes me feel like I trust these people whatsoever. Lose weight. This is one of those. It feels really scammy, all right, in the scheme of things. Um, and so the previous ownership was willing to take this on, and if we look at the next slide, we turned it into this, and you'll notice there's a 60-day money back guarantee. It's really clear. There's trust symbols. There's all this good stuff. But the point that I'm making here is up in the very top, there are four symbols, right? One is, you see the phone at the far right. You've got a formulated in the USA, the FDA, they've got a checkbox. So here's the thing. Everything that says up there, like 233,000 plus clients, everything is true, was true at the time, okay? But the trust symbols themselves, our graphics people made them up. They're not real trust symbols, all right? But
Yeah.
we never say lie. Everything up there is true, okay? But by having that there, their revenue went through the roof until they got shut down by, I think, the government. But that's a whole different problem. Not my fault. Okay. But my point being here is all of these trust symbols. It wouldn't matter what page they land on. If you think about it, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? Well, I'm going to feel really good about this because these trust symbols were great. And if I land on the home page, it's even better. So the point of this is trust symbols and social proof, and all of that absolutely matters. Okay. And again, we don't do these kind of sites anymore, but this stuff works. All right.
Yep.
So, and with that, okay, we're back to the Stefan show.
Yeah, we are. But that was really, really great. Just to hear go through everything. In especially for the people on the webinar right now, this is really helpful information. Information that you can all apply. And I remember when I asked you to go check, I asked you, and you said yes to go to our website and have a quick look over it when we were on that call. And it was like, this is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. And I was like, why don't we spend time on our own website as well, at least to have a quick look over it? But just those changes that we made actually made a positive impact for us as an agency, not an e-commerce business or a business owner. And it was really useful. So it's going to be all of this information is useful for everybody that's joining here right now. Now, regarding um, the part where you take conversion rate and you try to apply the concepts on your business, basically, on a new business, on a new client's business. Are there cases in which the first thing you do is not to optimize design, but to look at technicals, to look at traffic before you start changing buttons? Or when you see a website that has, missing all of these like exclamation marks that are purely wrong. It's not just best practices, they're completely wrong. Do you just go straight to, does your team go straight to modifying them and proposing for the client a new like UX or CRO altered front end design? So basically, are there cases in which you don't just go straight into fixing up the front end and you do a data analysis for the traffic and everything else. Or when there's things like this, like the things that you mentioned here right now, do you first fix them and then look at the data? I'm trying to give the people on the webinar here, um, the right path
Fair,
forward.
fair. So I will tell you the first thing we do with every client is we get access to their tag manager, Google Analytics, Search Console, upstream messaging if it's Google Ads or whatever they're doing, their heat maps, and we're looking at what's going on. All right. At the same time, we're doing a best practices review for any obvious things that we can suggest that they fix. Now, having said that, okay, where we start after, we'll call it the foundational stuff, does change. Okay. We might move into testing. All right. But one of the things I said early on is that I was going to teach people how they could, um, increase their revenue by lowering their marketing costs. For a very large percentage of our clients, what we do is we look at their advertising spend and we look at the landing pages they send it to, and we either, and we're not a PPC agency, but we'll work with their agency and we'll either modify their upstream messaging, or we'll modify the landing page, or we'll make sure there's an alignment between the two. When you do that, your cost per acquisition goes way down, so you're actually spending less money to get more revenue. And so a lot of times we look at where they're spending the most amount of money so that we can immediately stop the bleeding, right? And if they don't have a lot of bleeding on that, then we're using the data to figure out. The one thing I will tell everybody, and we've seen this really, it's really sad. Revenue, you've heard the saying, revenue solves all problems, okay? Revenue hides a lot of problems. I can't tell you how many times we have clients where their revenue was going up, 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 but their conversion rate at the same time was going down. They were driving more traffic, and all of a
Yep.
sudden they hit the cliff. And when you look back for, historically what happened, they had a problem years ago that they never fixed. And so
It
understanding
snowballs.
what's, oh yeah, what's understanding what's happening really makes a major difference for these folks. Okay. And so I wish I could say we always do this or we always that. Well, we always make sure the analytics and all that's set up correctly, because you can't fix what you can't measure and track, right? And every testing tool on the face of the planet, uses analytics to figure out what's going on. So yeah, that's
I
the
was
first.
asking because uh, we have this client from the Middle East that we're working with on marketing automation, email marketing, more
Mhm.
specifically automation right now, because we've just set up the foundation, and then the other elements are going to come into place. But on a side, not with us, but internally, they also revamped their website. Their old website looked bad. I mean, like out of like 20 years ago, bad.
Mhm.
And they sell like a lot of stuff, huge company, lots of brands, marketplace-ish, not really a marketplace level, but they sell products from a lot of ranges. And the new website looks really good.
Mhm.
But the minute they launched it, 1 month later, they were just comparing initially period over period. And I told them, you cannot compare January to December. That's completely, it's going to be off anyway. So they did the period over period, year over year. So January versus December this year and January versus December last year. And they saw that it's not necessarily something cyclical. So first of all, rule out the cyclicity when running these tests. But then they still had a drop in conversion rate. And they immediately went into the design, but the design looks great. I'll actually send you a link afterwards so you can have a look
Okay.
over it, because it really looks nice. They kind of checked all the boxes, so to say. But they immediately looked at design, and I told them, no, no, stop. 1 second. First of all, you made too many changes all at once. If you make too many changes all at once, you're not going to be able to know which one of those changes actually works great. Your board may like it, it may look pretty, but if you make too many changes at once, you're going to have a problem tracking the winners and the losers. So damage is done. We are live, but let's analyze your traffic first of all. Let's see if the traffic that's landing on your website is actually traffic that's good for you. Because what do you know? They've made some changes on their advertising campaigns. They've made
Mhm.
some efforts on the SEO, GEO side of things.
Mhm.
And yeah, traffic went up, but conversion rate went down. So that's why I was asking, um, what's your process? And I'm happy to hear that the traffic part for you guys is also very important. The beginning traffic analysis. You have to
Mhm.
be sure that you have the right people on your website. Otherwise, even if you answer to those three questions,
Mhm.
you're talking you're it's apples and oranges. It's
Yeah.
not gonna it's never gonna match.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. So, um, just a couple of questions here is what would you optimize first in 2026? And since this is more like directed to e-commerce, just let's think about e-commerce stores. What would you do first? Anyone listening to this podcast right now? No, this is for you, Marty.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you really can't take me anywhere. I swear. Okay. So, what would you optimize first on an e-commerce store? Um, Again, I would be looking at the uh, well, I would look at trust symbols, all right, and I would answer those three questions wherever the majority of your visitors land. And I would look at, are they landing on a mobile device or are they landing on a desktop device? Because there are some differences here. So, for example, depending upon what you're selling and depending upon how you're selling it, so if you're doing meta advertising or TikTok advertising, all right, and you're selling, that's what we call click on the doorstep. Right. And what that means is they click on an ad that they were doom scrolling on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. They click on it, they land on something, they look at it, they click, and they buy, and then it gets shipped to them. All right. That's click on the doorstep. If you are doing interrupt driven advertising, okay, like that, all right, which is like the old TV advertising, then you need to optimize for what we call click on the doorstep to make it seamless. Okay. If you're advertising for something that requires a lot more research in there than, for the product, then you have to provide the education. So part of it depends. So the answer to this, it depends on the type of product, the type of traffic that's coming in there, and are we optimizing for click on the doorstep, or are we trying to sell them a bunch of things where they're comparison shopping? Or did they do a Google search? Or did it, and if they did a Google search and they land, then you need to make sure that you've got all the trust symbols we talked about, that we make it really easy for them to to feel good about it, that they're in the right place to feel good about it and they're able to do it. So phone number top, make sure there's no rotate, no movement on it. Make sure that the calls to action pop off the page. You want to think about it this way. Here's what I tell everybody. You don't have to go to our site and have us look at it. Have a friend look at your website, all right? And if they don't know what you do in seconds, all right, you got a problem. It's that simple. Okay. So, I am
Got
going to
it.
go back to something else, Stefan, that you said on the previous company where their conversion rate went down. When you make a major change to your website, measure new visitors only, okay, not returning visitors, because new visitors didn't see what was there before and people don't like change. So when you make a change, as long as the conversion rate for new visitors goes up, you did a good job, because return visitors may go down because they don't like change and they're like, oh, am I in the right place? They feel uncomfortable. So that problem solves itself within 2 weeks to 2 months anyway, because
Yeah.
the returners become from new. Right.
Yeah. The danger there is to start making changes immediately because 1 month is not enough
Mhm.
actually to start measuring the results anyway. And if you start changing the design again, you're gonna completely lose it. Okay, which site elements are overrated?
Which site elements are overrated on an e-commerce site? Which site elements are overrated? Uh, Yeah, descriptions. Lots of text about your site, and then below the fold. Actually, here's the one that drives me. I think the technical term is batshit crazy. Okay, is I'm on an e-commerce site. Okay, and I scroll down, and it says you might also like, or customers also bought. Okay, no, no. First off, a lot of that's out. People put stuff up there that doesn't really match what the people are doing. And the other one that drives me nuts is when you land on a site and the first thing they do is bestsellers. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, you don't know why I'm here. Maybe I'm not interested in that. That's basically saying I'm going to sell you what I want to sell you, regardless of what you want. And then the other thing that I always hear that it drives me nuts is entry pops, right? And we already talked about that. But I've had people say to me, well, when we introduced our entry pop, our revenue went up or our conversion rate went up or whatever. I will tell you for a fact, because we've tested this. If you put an entry pop and it's working on your website, that means that your underlying website is awful. Because if you have a highly optimized website and you put an entry pop on it, your conversion rate and revenue goes down. So it's a band-aid approach for really bad websites. So
We
anyway.
struggle a lot with this as well. On the pop-up side of things, those are essential for email automation, especially in order to grab email addresses, but they have to be done correctly. When we land
Correct.
on a website and we get the pop-up bum bum in our face straight away, that's a big no-no. And one thing that I can tell to people on the webinar right now is the pop-up experience ideally has also to be different on different pages of the website, and it has to be different on different types of products in general. So for example, the delay at which a pop-up is going to appear on the homepage is should be different after you have a benchmark and you have your data put together and you're able to start measuring. It should be different from the delay at which you get it on a product page if you haven't already subscribed, for example. And on the product page, if you have really pretty products, really pretty images, and you want people, the minute they land on the phone, on the desktop, on your product page, they're going to be able to see the products and they're going to want to look at those pretty images. We shouldn't show them a pop-up when they are at the very top. And maybe if it's a technical product and there's like a description that people typically read because it's air conditioning or whatnot, you don't want to show it when they're scrolling by 30% to 60%. You want to show it once they're lower than that or after they've scrolled plus 5 to 6 seconds. And the tools that we have at our disposal today can actually help us to do this. And wowza, we actually went a bit longer uh, than, and this is most likely going to stop very soon. I'm just trying to jump to the key takeaways here. So first of all, there were some questions if there's going to be a recording. Yes, there's going to be a recording, and we can, for the people that attended through LinkedIn, just ping us, and we will be able to send you the recording as well. Key takeaways. 2026 growth is about efficiency. We have to be very mindful and thankful for the traffic that we get, and we have to not be me, but we have to service our clients in the best possible way. CRO is a strategic growth lever that we have to take into account for volume and for existence. Prioritization matters more than volume. This is especially important right now because we do have to prioritize. We cannot be all over the place. And long-term planning beats random testing. Like you said, Marty, like the very beginning, that's low-hanging fruit. We're always going to get like a positive impact as long as the traffic is there. We're going to be able to see benefits, but we have to plan on growing those benefits, not make rash decisions, but A/B test everything that we do, starting from that moment when we have our benchmark built, and we're able to A/B split test and find the refinements that make our business grow. Marty, it was really great to have you on today. I'm Honestly honored. I will be seeing you in Lisbon, where you are keynoting the Digital Marketing Europe conference. What was the name of your speech?
Oh, well, now it's AI oriented. So the speech was, hold on one second.
Optimize or
Yeah, optimize
die
or die. Okay, AI
faster.
is here. Yeah, and so is your bounce rate. And so
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. I will be in the audience right there next to you. Thank you so
okay,
much for attending today, and thank you to everyone. And good luck in 2026. Let's make it a winning year for everyone. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.